guided by the fighter mentor. Notice this. There is a minute before the city wakes up, a minute when traffic lights still seem bigger than the traffic, and noise hasn't yet taken over the streets. It is in this minute that many things are decided silently. There is a minute before the day finds its voice, a minute when the house is still quiet. The street hasn't chosen its noise yet, and you can still choose the tone you'll carry. It is in this minute that many things begin to be one. If this is helping you now, leave a like, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Discipline is not theater. It is structure. It is what remains standing when everything else wavers, when the mind races, when the body resists, when the morning feels bigger than your available strength. Discipline doesn't arrive like a strike. It arrives as adjustment, a fine adjustment in direction, in the body, in attention. It doesn't need to shout to exist. It organizes what excess has disorganized. Focus is this presence that doesn't over-explain itself. It doesn't compete with noise. It doesn't argue with urgency. It remains, and it is within this kind of silence that clarity appears, not as a magical answer, but as enough direction for the next step to exist. Mental health is not decoration. It is foundation. When the foundation gives in, even the simplest act becomes heavy. When it is solid, everything else organizes with less force and more truth. Some people wake up already losing energy. They open the phone. They dive into screens. They switch thoughts without finishing any. The day begins fractured, and everything that follows tries to fix that crooked start. But there is another kind of morning, a clean morning, without the rush to prove anything. A morning that doesn't ask for applause, only direction. Now, see this story, taken from everyday life. Nothing heroic, just truth. Story, the basket at the supermarket. At the end of the day, someone entered a supermarket with a crowded mind and a tired body. They grabbed a small basket, walked through the aisles without a list, and started picking things at random. After 3 rounds, they realized they had spent more time, more energy, and more money than necessary. The following week, they entered with a simple list in their pocket. Few items, few minutes, less noise. On the way out, the feeling was different. It wasn't about shopping. It was about having chosen before entering. That's how attention works. Without form, it spreads. With form, it saves your life. That is discipline, giving shape to what, without shape, becomes exhaustion. It doesn't need to become an event. It needs to become a habit. The human mind gets lost when it tries to carry everything at once. The body feels it. The mood feels it. The will feels it. That's why mental health is not a side topic. It is the base. It is the ground that allows you to continue without collapsing from within. Sleep better. Eat better. Turn off excess. Move your body without guilt. All of this seems too simple until the day its absence sends a bill. Deep focus is not born from force. It is born from exclusion. You remove what gets in the way. Close a tab. Silence a notification. Remove a thought that doesn't belong in the moment. And in the space that remains, the work finally appears. If this is helping you now, leave a like, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Now, see another story, taken from everyday life. A simple story called The Last Bus. It was late. The bus came nearly empty, with a few passengers staring at foggy windows. Someone sat in the back, still carrying the vibration of the day in their body. The phone lit up. Messages kept coming. But that night, the hand didn't reach the screen. It reached into the inner pocket of a backpack, where there was a thin notebook. They opened to a blank page and wrote just 3 things. What drained energy, what still mattered, and what should wait until tomorrow. Nothing sophisticated, but when the bus crossed the overpass, the mind already felt lighter. That week, sleep improved. That week, mornings became less hostile. That week, the person realized it wasn't a day that was impossible. It was the excess taking up everything. Small cuts and noise changed the way of the night, and a quieter night reshapes the morning. Consistency is not performance. It is returning to what matters without needing high motivation, returning even with little time, returning even with low energy, returning because what matters should not depend on mood. Now see this as a single scene, not a task. A long story called The Window of Apartment 402. In Apartment 402, there was a window that always stayed slightly open before 6, not for aesthetics, out of necessity. The person who lived their work shifting hours and had a habit of waking up before the city to prepare their mind before the rest of the world. There was no beautiful ritual to post. There was water. There was silence. There was a chair by the kitchen table. There was a short period when the phone stayed away. In the first days, it seemed like little, just a few minutes without screens. Then a few minutes writing one sentence about what needed to be done. Then a short review of what had felt heavy the day before. Nothing grand, but without noticing, the apartment began to change its atmosphere. Morning stopped being a shock and became a passage. Work no longer met a half-broken mind. It met a cleaner one. The curious part is that no one saw this from the outside. Neighbors still heard the door. The building stayed the same. But inside, the rhythm had changed. The person made fewer mistakes from rushing, got lost less from excess, got tired less from carrying everything at once. That is conscious productivity, not running more, bleeding less, doing what matters without crushing your own mind and process. Without mental health, even discipline becomes noise. With mental health, discipline becomes direction. There are moments when the smartest move is not to push harder. It is to lower the volume, to sit, to breathe, to let the system return to center before demanding more from it. And the next step, when clear, is more powerful than any impulse, because impulse fades, direction remains. Do not confuse noise with progress. Do not confuse exhaustion with value. Do not confuse movement with construction. There are days when the greatest act of discipline is simply not falling into disorder. Breathe now. Slow. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Feel your mind step out of urgency. Feel your body stop asking for escape. There is something almost invisible in those who learn to care for their attention. Posture changes, speech changes, the way they begin changes, and quietly, life starts responding differently. Now imagine the end of the day that didn't crush you. You didn't finish perfect, but you finished whole. That is already a lot. Because finishing whole is what allows you to begin again with dignity. Final line low, steady, inevitable. Those who organize their attention don't just live better, they live with direction. If you felt this, come back. Here we don't sell excess. Here we learn to remain